So
Okay.
welcome, Lisa, and again, thank you for agreeing to share your insights about Claremont School. And I'd like to start off by asking you why you chose our school in the first place.
Well, our daughter Addison had been struggling in the public system, and we transitioned to Claremont in grade 6. And at that time, she was 3 full grade levels behind. And, we'd been put on an IEP, and what I saw was they just kept adjusting it backwards so that the expectations were lowered. And that was the solution. There seemed no efforts or resources available to help her continue to reach her potential. It was just all about adjusting expectations. And there was absolutely nothing there for her to help her learn differently. And, it kind of crystallized for me when in a parent-teacher interview, I asked the teacher, I said, you put on her report card that with practice, Addison will eliminate letter reversals. And I asked him, I said, do you think that's the solution to letter reversals, is just more practice? And he said, oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have put that on a report card. I know Addison's dyslexic. And I said, okay. I said, so what should you have put on her report card? I said, what is the solution? And he had no idea how to answer that question. And he said, I'm sorry, I actually don't know how to teach someone like your daughter. And then the resource education teacher was also in the meeting. And I said to him, I said, okay, so you're here to help support him with this sort of challenge. I said, how are you going to help him help my daughter? And he said, he didn't know. And I said, how can the resource education teacher who is supposed to be here and be knowledgeable about this not know? And I said, 10% of kids statistically have some form of dyslexia. So you're telling me for those 10% of the kids that need the most help, you don't know how to help them? And they were just at a complete loss as to how to answer that question. And I don't think it was out of a lack of interest. There just didn't seem to be any training available to teachers in the public system on how to reach our kids. So that is why we came.
I see, yes. And so what is the difference then between what you experienced in the public system and what you experienced in our school?
Well, I do not know exactly what happens in the classroom, but the way I describe it to other people, there must be a little bit of magic that happens in the classroom, because this child who went from, I didn't think she'd ever learn her multiplication timetables. And she went from not even knowing her 0 or her 1-time multiplication tables. I think it had just become such a mental block for her. Within the first month at Claremont, she went from not knowing anything to having almost her 12 by 12 down cold. And I said to her, I said, what are they doing that, you went from, we'd practice with her and we couldn't get it, we couldn't get any movement on it. And I said, what are they doing that's so different there? And she said to me, well, we just do it all the time and we do it in different ways. And I said, well, tell me about it. What did that mean? And so she said, well, we'll take a break in class and our teacher will take a ball and he'll pass the ball around and he'll say, we're going to count by 3s now. And so they pass the ball around and they go 3, 6, 9, 12. And I think it's just that layered multi-sensory approach that, kids who live and learn in different ways have the opportunity to find the way that resonates with them. And then she said, but there's all kinds of other ways that we did it too, Mom. So I think it was just a very different approach. It's not a one size fits all for kids. is recognizing that these children in particular learn in different ways. And the school, with the OG methodology, is tapped into, all the different ways that you can help a child learn. There's not one way to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's our three-pronged approach. It's the academics, of course, and the multisensory and structured way that we teach, which is framed by the Orton-Gillingham methodology. And then there's the social piece, and then there's the emotional piece. And so socially, the classes are quite small, which means that, first of all, you get a lot of attention from the teacher. But on the other hand, you often are restricted in the friendships that you can make, because you're not 30 in a class like in other schools. Did your daughter find that was a problem at all, the small class sizes?
I wouldn't say it was a problem. I would say it was a challenge her first year there because she was in a 6-7 split and she was the only girl who was a grade 6. So for that year, she didn't make any friends, necessarily close friends. She met people in clubs and things like that, but she didn't get the same connection to other kids that she made in future years when there were more girls in her class. She has a couple of really good friends. She's at one of their cottages this week that she made, that I think they'll be lifelong friends because of, the shared challenges that they have, for sure. But Addison's also a really social child. So I think different kids might have more trouble with that, but Addison didn't have a problem with that.
How did she find the workload compared to the school that she came from?
The workload, I think she found manageable. I think it was particularly manageable because she wasn't constantly feeling like she was behind. So, when she was in at the school before Claremont, she would often get left behind in the lesson, and she would sit there and not know how to progress in an assignment, or it wouldn't have resonated with her. So it was like she had to relearn it independently to be able to do something. Whereas with the small class sizes at Claremont, no one got left behind. Everyone, if a child was not getting the concept, it would be repeated so that everyone moved along with the class at the same place, as opposed to previously she would, have a lesson, she wouldn't understand it, she wouldn't understand what was expected of her, so she'd just sit at her desk, not do anything. And with 32 kids in a class, teacher wouldn't realize that, or didn't have the time to get to her, to help her, so that she could actually get her work done. But the fact that you're in a class with 6 or 7 kids, if you need a little extra help, it's there. So you're sitting there with your time unused or unable to progress because, you're sitting there not understanding what's going on.
Yes, that accessibility to teachers, I think, is very important, especially if a child is not feeling very confident. Then it will be harder to approach a teacher, and also harder to stand out in front of a class and say, I need help, or put up your hand. So her relationships with the teachers in our school, did she feel she had enough support during the years she was there?
Really, really supportive. I think that's definitely, without question, something that was a real difference for us. Is of the staff are so committed and care about, seeing all of the kids progress. And it's not to say that, in the public system, teachers aren't caring and hardworking, but I think when you have 32 kids in a class, it's really hard to put your finger on, exactly where everyone in the classroom is. But I think with 6 or 7 kids in the class, my daughter's teachers, they always knew her. They knew what her strengths were. They knew what her weaknesses were. So that small environment helped tailor, exactly what she needed from the teachers. And, if she wasn't doing what she was supposed to, or she was having some trouble with something, we prompt communication from the teacher so we could help her with it as well. And together we'd come up with a plan to how we would both support Addison, especially given she was in grade 8 and knowing she was going back in the public system. How do we not, how do we make her as independent in taking responsibility for her own learning as possible to ensure that next year, when she's back in the public system in high school with a lot more independence and freedom, that we're able to continue to succeed.
What did she find out about herself in the last 3 years at Claremont?
Well, I think we always told her that her struggles weren't because she wasn't smart. It was because she learned differently. And I think she maybe thought that's just what her parents were telling her because we love her and we want her to believe in herself and feel good about herself. But I think going to Claremont, she believed it there because she saw other kids like herself who had the same struggles. She saw that she could succeed when she was given the right type of instruction. So it wasn't just mom and dad telling her, you're a really smart girl and you work really hard and you have to work a lot harder than everyone else to succeed. But you can do it. It wasn't just us telling her that anymore. She was surrounded by other kids who had the same experience, and those messages were reinforced by the outcomes. When she got the extra support, when she was taught in a way that she could understand, she did really well.
What do you think she'll remember most in a couple of years about her time in elementary school with us?
I think she'll remember a lot of things, but I think the emphasis on creativity and the things that she was able to do and take a leadership role in, like the Halloween haunted house and creating that, or the videos that you made, or just going in the new location, going down and having some outdoor time. I think all of those things are definitely things that she'll remember. But she's also really proud of a lot of the academic things she did. She did a project on Harriet Tubman. That clearly resonated with her. She's watched the movies that have come out since then, and she took pictures of her project board and sent it to her grandparents. And so it's not just the social and the fun things, but she's really proud of some of the academic accomplishments that she made while she was there, that I don't know whether she ever felt pride in her academic work before.
Yes, it's I think elementary school is made up of so many different layers. So you come in the beginning and you're in kindergarten and it's all new and fresh and sort of got a mythical quality. And by the time you're in grade 8, you're a young person, a young adult, looking for more independence and really coming into your own. We had career day at over June, end of several years. Is there a career that she has in mind for herself now that is developing or taking root?
Well, that changes all the time. At the moment, she's really obsessed with the show Grey's Anatomy. So she got it in her mind that she can be a surgeon.
Oh, wow. Great.
Or a paramedic. She's realized that might be a good alternative as well.
Yes.
But it changes daily based on whatever her interests are. She loves photography, and that the pursuit of the creative things at Claremont, I think she really loved. So I could see her, doing something like that. She also loves to cook, which she was also able to do in class. So I think she's got a lot of interests that I think she realizes, and we've talked to her about, in terms of how you live the rest of your life in terms of an occupation, finding something that you love and are passionate about is really important. So I think, she was exposed to so many things through the clubs and through class, because the teachers were really interested in hearing what the kids were interested in doing. So the cooking classes that they did, or that she was able to bring her camera and take photographs, were great ways for her to continue to explore her personal interests.
That's wonderful. Now we've started a kindergarten program at Claremont, because I'm a great believer in our methodology for all students. Do you think it would have made a difference to Addison had we had this program for her in kindergarten? Had she joined a similar, had she been exposed to this kind of methodology earlier on? Do you think it would have made a difference?
Addison joined the school in grade 6.
Yes.
And we saw right from kindergarten that she was struggling, and there was a real hesitancy on the part of the school to acknowledge that there was really anything going on. Messaging was, she's a bright girl, kids mature at different ages. But we had her tested, and it confirmed, what we thought was going on. And yeah, absolutely. I wish we hadn't waited as long as we did to seek the kind of intervention that Claremont gave her, because when she went in to Claremont, she was 3 grade levels behind in almost everything. Coming out now, she's at grade level, and still not a lover of reading, but I kind of feel like if she'd started a little bit earlier, it wouldn't be as much of a struggle for her. And absolutely, if I could go back and kind of tell myself something, I would have listened to that voice that was telling me something was wrong. But then when you have, professionals, people, this is what they do for a living, telling you, kids learn at different paces, let her adjust, it'll take some time, she'll get there. You put your faith in people who for whom that's their livelihood, and I wish I'd listened to my gut a little bit more, because I think she wouldn't have had to struggle as much as she did.
What type of student is best suited to our school, do you think?
I think kids who I think it's kids and parents. I think I see a lot of Addie's peers or friends of mine who have kids who have similar struggles to Addie, but there's a reluctance to accept and acknowledge that the child has some learning exceptionalities. And I think until both the parent and the child understand that there's some challenges there that can be overcome with the right type of instruction, and knowing that it's a lot of hard work, I don't know whether a person will succeed without acknowledging they have challenges that need a different level of instruction. So I would say it's kind of 2-part. Both you need the parents who accept that their child has some special needs, and the child who knows that and knows that these can be overcome, and that but it's a lot of work. My son does not have the challenges that Addison has, and I watch the 2 of them and how they approach things, and neither of them were really interested in learning to ride a bike, and all of a sudden they both at the same time needed to learn how to ride a bike. and my son is naturally athletic. Addison, not naturally athletic at all. And so they both start, learning to ride a bike, and it's hard, concept of balance. Son tried it 2 or 3 times. He wasn't getting any, threw the bike aside and said, this is too hard, and he walked away from it. That's because everything comes easy to him. My daughter, Addison, who's used to having to work at things, she just kept picking that bike up, and she rode that bike before he did. As she is so used to having to work hard, so used to it not coming on the first or the second or the third try, and trying out different ways, so I think she has learned that through hard work and tenacity, you can get there.
That's great. Great lesson to learn, that perseverance.
Yeah. And I look at the two of them, and I know they'll both be okay, because one thing's come easily to, but the other one who maybe needs to work a little bit harder, she knows that if she puts the work in, she can get there. So
yes, our students really do develop that, and they are resilient as well. And they've had quite a few knocks by the time they come to Claremont often, and that has strengthened them in a way. In another way, it has made them, I think, sort of a reticent maybe to take risks. What I hope that our school does for the students that come to us is to give them the confidence to take risks and to go places where they haven't gone before, and find out that it's enjoyable and they can succeed there. We also try and foster a sense of community. It's been difficult though in these last 18 months with COVID and lockdowns. But thinking back maybe to the time when we weren't in lockdown, has Claremont been able to support the parents and give you a sense of community?
Absolutely. And I think, there's so many special things that the school does, for the anniversary, the opportunity to come together and meet other parents. I happen to connect with a former teacher of mine. His daughter has a child at the school, so we have an instant connection. But the school does a lot of really special things that brings parents together and provides them the opportunity to connect with one another. And the school, I would say, in a way that you don't see very often. And I think because parents have gone out of their way to put their kids in a school like Claremont, there's a lot of interest in supporting the school and getting to know the other parents in the community.
Oh, that's great to hear. Is there something that we can improve upon? Is there something that we can change? Always looking to make things better. So would you have any suggestions for us?
I'd say it would be nice if the school was bigger, because I think having some more kids there and having a larger cohort would be nice. But at the same time, I think, the small intimacy of the school is a good thing. So I'd say that's something that could be better for some students. For other students, it probably wouldn't be more beneficial. I've seen a really great improvement in the kind of administration recently. I think there's been some changes in the office staff. I think at times, just because there's so much going on and there's a lot coming out, some of that can be a little bit, but we always get it in time. And I'd say that would be the only thing that I think the school can continue to work on, is that kind of administrative communication piece. But I've seen a huge improvement in that, especially in the last year.
Oh, that's good to know. Yes.
And the facilities you have now are so beautiful. I would say that has been such a huge improvement. The Eastminster Church was lovely, but the fact that you didn't have your own kind of permanent space, what an improvement at St. Aidan's, and such a beautiful space, and that you own it, and you know, it's your own space. So great for the school.
Yes, that makes a huge difference in so many ways, with scheduling and programming, and having a auditorium with a stage and a gymnasium that is solely for the use of our students. That's been a huge game changer for us. Lisa, I am indebted to you for volunteering to share your thoughts and your opinions, and I'm thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you want to add, or just
You got me emotional, just because, you know, when Addison started at Claremont, you know, it had felt like such an uphill battle, and that one that we were never going to win. And the minute she walked in the school, it was like that burden we'd been carrying to help her succeed was just gone. And I can't thank you enough for having done that for her and for us. So anyway, I didn't mean to get emotional. I'm sorry.
No. That's why we do it. That's why I do it. And it's a challenging. It's often challenging for the students, for the staff, for all of us. But it's a team effort, and it's so amazingly rewarding when we see a student like Addison at the end of it. It's quite something, and she's not the first that has come to the school 3 years behind with an IEP, with this individual education plan, and leaving at grade level, or with a future ahead of her, with all the possibilities for her to discover. And now the school is 12 years old. This is our 12th year, and we have students now at university. And I remember them coming to the school several years behind in their IEP, you know, and it was just that lockstep. You were always going to be 3 years behind. And now I see them at university and successful and qualified. And it's life-changing. So it's very gratifying, very rewarding. It's wonderful, wonderful work to do. Thank you so much, Lisa.